Diddy's life of fame and fortune took a shocking turn when a judge handed down a prison sentence that stunned the world, exposing secrets no one ever imagined. Diddy was more than a music mogul. He was a symbol of success, wealth, and influence. Everywhere he went, cameras followed, and headlines celebrated his achievements. From platinum records to high-end fashion lines, he seemed to have built an empire that could withstand anything. Fans adored him, aspiring artists looked up to him, and the media painted him as a genius who could turn anything into gold. Behind the scenes, however, a different story quietly unfolded. Not everyone in his circle shared the loyalty and admiration that the public saw. Whispers about secret deals, hidden accounts, and questionable business practices lingered like shadows over his empire. For years, these rumors were shrugged off as exaggerations or jealousy, nothing that could touch someone of his status. The world assumed he was untouchable. It all started with small, almost invisible cracks in the foundation of his empire. A former accountant noticed inconsistencies in the books, minor irregularities that could easily be ignored, or so it seemed. But those small signs were just the beginning. The deeper the financial trail went, the more suspicious it became. Large sums of money moved between accounts without clear explanations. Offshore transactions appeared overnight. Shell companies and hidden partnerships raised questions that no one had dared to ask publicly. The network was complex, intricate, and deliberately confusing, the kind of setup only someone with immense experience in finance could create. Yet even the most carefully concealed operations eventually leave traces, and in Diddy's case, someone had noticed. An anonymous tip eventually reached the authorities. It was short, cryptic, and almost dismissible if not taken seriously. A mention of irregular funds and potential criminal activity linked to one of the world's most famous entertainers. For law enforcement, it was the spark that ignited months of covert investigations. Suddenly, Diddy was no longer just a celebrity. He became a subject of intense scrutiny. Investigators began connecting dots, uncovering a web of financial maneuvers that went far beyond simple accounting errors. Every step revealed new layers of deception, turning admiration into suspicion. What had been an untouchable star was slowly transforming into the centerpiece of a story that would shock the world, a tale of fame, fortune, and the hidden dangers that lurk behind success. As the investigation progressed, authorities began to uncover the full scale of Diddy's financial empire. What at first seemed like isolated irregularities soon revealed a complex web of offshore accounts, shell companies, and secret investments scattered across multiple countries. Every account and transaction told a story of careful planning and deliberate concealment. It became clear that the operations were not mistakes or accidental oversights. They were part of a meticulously designed system meant to hide money and evade taxes. For law enforcement, each discovery was a new piece of a puzzle that slowly painted a startling picture. The man who had once appeared untouchable was now facing scrutiny that could bring down everything he had built. Investigators pored over years of financial records, piecing together trails that crisscrossed the globe. They discovered transfers to companies registered in jurisdictions notorious for secrecy, sudden shifts of large sums between accounts, and business deals that lacked proper documentation. Some transactions were disguised as routine investments, while others appeared completely fabricated. The deeper they dug, the more intricate the scheme became. Patterns emerged, linking Diddy not just to hidden money, but to a network of collaborators who facilitated the concealment. Each revelation added weight to the case, proving that this was not a simple misunderstanding or minor error. It was a deliberate strategy to manipulate the law for personal gain. The investigation also exposed a side of the entertainment industry that the public rarely saw. Behind the glamour and fame, deals were made in silence, contracts were bent in secret, and loyalty often came with strings attached. Former business partners, who once benefited from Diddy's empire, faced tough decisions. Some chose to cooperate with authorities, revealing details of the hidden accounts and secret agreements, while others tried to protect themselves, fearing legal consequences. The courtroom would eventually see their testimonies, but for now, their disclosures provided a roadmap for investigators to follow. As the case against Diddy grew stronger, the media began to take notice. Rumors spread, speculation flourished, and the public started questioning the man they had once admired. The narrative shifted from celebrity success to potential criminal enterprise, and the tension intensified. Every new discovery in the investigation seemed to push Diddy closer to a reality no one expected, a reality where fame and fortune could not shield him from justice. By the time prosecutors were ready to move forward, the foundation of his empire had already begun to crumble under the weight of legal scrutiny. The day the trial began, the world watched closely. Diddy, once untouchable, now faced the harsh glare of the legal system. Courtroom doors opened to journalists, cameras, and curious onlookers, all eager to witness the proceedings. The evidence against him was overwhelming, meticulously documented by investigators who had spent months unraveling the complex web of his finances. What had seemed like a distant story of money and contracts now became a dramatic spectacle of law, power, and betrayal. Every document, every bank statement, and every testimony added layers to a case that shocked even those familiar with the inner workings of the music industry. Prosecutors laid out their argument with precision. They detailed offshore accounts, shell companies, and a string of transactions that painted a picture of intentional deception. Large sums of money appeared and disappeared with no explanation, while contracts and agreements were manipulated to hide the truth. Each piece of evidence told a story of careful planning and deliberate concealment. The more the prosecutors revealed, the more the courtroom seemed to tighten around Diddy. Even the public, watching from afar, began to see a side of the man they had admired but never truly understood. The trial also revealed cracks in Diddy's inner circle. Former business partners, once loyal allies, testified about secret deals and hidden agreements. Their statements were surprising, exposing decisions made in the shadows and financial maneuvers designed to stay invisible. Some details were so intricate that they stunned even seasoned legal experts. The revelations suggested that Diddy had not acted alone, but relied on a network of collaborators who knew the risks and rewards of the system. The courtroom became a stage for these hidden truths, turning admiration into disbelief and leaving spectators questioning how someone so powerful could fall so far. As the trial continued, tension grew with each passing day. The media captured every moment, reporting each shocking revelation in real time. Headlines screamed about hidden money, betrayal, and the empire at risk. Every testimony and every document raised the stakes higher, creating a sense of inevitability that hung over the courtroom like a storm cloud. By the time closing arguments were delivered, the evidence was clear, and the world waited with bated breath for the judge's decision. The trial had transformed from a legal procedure into a public spectacle, a dramatic unraveling of fame, fortune, and secrets that no one had expected to see exposed. The day of the verdict arrived with a tension that seemed to ripple through every corner of the courtroom. Reporters lined the hallways, cameras were set up outside, and fans and critics alike waited anxiously for the moment that would change everything. Diddy sat quietly, his usually confident demeanor replaced by a rare stillness. For months, the world had watched as the investigation unfolded and the trial revealed hidden truths about his empire. Now, all eyes were on the judge, who held the power to decide the fate of one of the most famous men in the world. As the judge entered the room, a hush fell over the crowd. The weight of the moment was palpable, as if the air itself had grown heavier. The reading of the verdict began, each word echoing through the room and reaching audiences across the globe. Diddy had been convicted on multiple counts, including tax evasion, fraud, and money laundering. The evidence presented during the trial had left no room for doubt. The judge's decision was precise and unyielding, delivering a sentence that shocked fans, critics, and the entertainment industry alike. A prison term, significant in length and consequences, would now be a reality for a man who had once seemed untouchable. The reaction outside the courtroom was immediate and intense. Social media exploded with opinions, theories, and disbelief. Headlines screamed of betrayal, justice, and the fall of an empire. Some fans refused to believe it, clinging to the image of the successful mogul they had admired for years. Others saw it as a long overdue reckoning, proof that fame and fortune could not shield anyone from the law. The story dominated news cycles, with analysts and commentators dissecting every detail of the case. The trial, once confined to the walls of the courtroom, had become a global event, a cautionary tale about the fragility of power. In the weeks following the sentence, the consequences became increasingly clear. Financial penalties were imposed on his businesses, and trust in his leadership eroded rapidly. Collaborators and former partners faced scrutiny, while the media continued to explore the depth of the empire he had built and lost. Diddy's once celebrated legacy was now overshadowed by criminal conviction. The story served as a stark reminder that no one, regardless of fame, influence, or wealth, is above the law. The verdict was not just the end of a trial, it was a turning point that forever altered the narrative of a man whose rise had once seemed unstoppable. The aftermath of the trial was swift and unforgiving. Diddy's empire, once a symbol of success and innovation, faced unprecedented challenges. Financial penalties and legal fees drained resources, while former business partners distanced themselves, seeking to protect their own interests. The entertainment world watched closely as the empire that had seemed untouchable began to crumble. Record deals were renegotiated or canceled, fashion lines stalled, and sponsorships vanished. The fall from grace was stark, a reminder that wealth and fame offer no immunity from the law. Public perception shifted dramatically. Fans who had idolized Diddy struggled to reconcile the man they admired with the criminal portrayed in court. Social media was flooded with debates, speculation, and criticism, creating a constant storm of scrutiny. Analysts dissected every aspect of his life and business, examining how one of the most influential figures in music and culture could end up behind bars. The narrative of a celebrated mogul became a cautionary tale about greed, secrecy, and the consequences of overreaching power. Even those who remained loyal found it difficult to ignore the reality of the conviction. The legal repercussions extended beyond prison time. Authorities investigated remaining business ventures, and ongoing audits threatened additional penalties. The network of collaborators who had once operated in secrecy faced exposure, some becoming entangled in lawsuits and investigations of their own. Each revelation sent shockwaves through industries that had long benefited from Diddy's influence. The entertainment world had been forced to confront a harsh truth: even the most powerful figures are vulnerable when legal and ethical boundaries are crossed. Despite the collapse of his empire and the damage to his reputation, the story of Diddy's downfall left a lasting impact. It became a reference point for legal experts, journalists, and aspiring entrepreneurs. Universities used the case as an example of corporate ethics and financial oversight, while documentaries chronicled the dramatic rise and fall of a global icon. The cautionary lessons were clear: fame, influence, and wealth can be fleeting, and no one is untouchable in the eyes of justice. Diddy's story would be remembered not for his achievements alone, but for the shocking consequences of choices made behind closed doors. His legacy was forever altered, a blend of remarkable success and spectacular downfall, serving as a stark reminder that power and ambition must always be tempered by accountability.